Greetings to my team of 144, all Starseeds, Lightworkers, and Wayshowers. It is just after midnight, 12:22 on 527-2019. Hope you're having a beautiful, blessed day. Happy Memorial Day if you are in the States. Wherever you are in this world, make it the best day ever. So today, the Schumann resonance was spiking up beyond 40 hertz. There was whiteouts on the Schumann resonance charts. It was reported that the asteroid passed close to Earth, and around the same time there was a 8.0 earthquake in Peru. Now that's the Kundalini of the Earth. The Kundalini of Gaia rising up through the Andes Mountains. The base of the spine being Ecuador, the foothills of the mountains as they flow south down through Peru. And as the Kundalini is awakening, there's shifting and movement and expansion. These are the Dantians opening up, just like what is happening to our bodies, our physical bodies. Sometimes it feels like, especially in your spine, back, abdomen, a feeling of an earthquake type feeling, like an expansion, a breaking open, a vibration of different frequencies. Because this resonance, this frequency, as the earth shakes, as our body shakes, many people are experiencing these vibrations, these frequencies, these pulses, these shaking, whatever you want to call it. As Gaia ascends, we are ascending with her, and all of the animal kingdom is going through this ascension process too, be it the wild animals or your domesticated animals are domesticated. Just like the cat that came to me yesterday, if you saw my video yesterday about the baby swan and then the black cat. She came, it was the first time I ever saw this cat. She was laying in my garden, and she called out to me when I was standing by these flowers, and she just came running. I sat on the ground and called to her, and she just came galloping at me and dove into my arms and just purred and meowed and transmitted so much bliss and joy and love. It was unbelievable. She smelled like these sweet perfumes and this soft, long black fur and these white little paws and white chin, and she just meowed and rubbed her head up against my heart, and it was just an amazing angel. So she transmitted that joy and bliss. I was able to record a few minutes of our interaction, so she was giving transmissions through that. I haven't seen her since, but I'll let you know if I see her in the future. Also, the other day, after photographing and filming the baby swan, it's the first time the trumpeter swans had babies at this nature preserve I've been going to for at least 15 years, 15 to 18 years. There was another beautiful sunset I was able to get. In the evenings, the parents of the baby swans will come up close to the shore and shake their feathers and bodies to bring up the debris from the bottom of the muck and the mud, the decomposing plant matter for the little babies to eat, and they come right up to the shore. So I was within arm's reach, and and it was just a beautiful sight to see. But the other night, after photographing these baby swan, I stopped at an Indian restaurant, from India, to pick up dinner. And I was sitting waiting for the food, and there was this little young baby Indian child, the most precious little angel, and I could hear her giggling. Her family or some woman was holding her and brought her up to the window, and I just heard the giggling, and it was just this pure joy and bliss. And the woman picked her up and walked by me, and this little tiny angel, she just looked at me with these piercing black eyes and this big smile and waved at me, and I waved to her, and she reached out, and I was telling this woman how precious that little angel was and how old was she, and she said about 15 months old. And as she reached out, I reached out my hand to her, and the lady carried her closer, and we touched hands, fingers, and it was such a joy, and the beauty and joy. They had her hair done up real cute, like sticking up, and she had these big brown eyes. It was like almost black, like piercing, and she just smiled and giggled and touched my hand. It was such a joy and blessing. I felt the transmission right from Source Creator. So the children, these crystal children, these indigo children, star children, whatever name you want to give them, they're just constantly transmitting the pure bliss, the pure awareness from Source energy, from Great Spirit, Mother, Father, God, whatever name you want to give to the great mystery that's beyond all things. And we're also receiving these transmissions from the animal kingdom, cats and dogs, and then the bird nation, and the wing nation, and the fur nation, and even the insect nation, the bees and the butterflies, the mantis, the mantids. I've spent a lot of time with the mantis and the dragonflies. Those are the two most alien looking creatures I've ever seen. And I've even witnessed where I was photographing a praying mantis at sunset, and right as the sun reached the horizon as it was setting, it was that they pay homage to the setting sun. The mantis was looking at me, and right as the sun hit the horizon, she turned towards the sun as it met the horizon, and it looked like she bowed towards it. I haven't got a picture of it. It's on my website, Nature Lover Photographer. And those golden rays hit her as she bowed towards it. It was pretty amazing. I also wanted to real quick mention I have a deep connection with the autistic children and humans, I should say humans, but mostly the children. Yesterday after work I stopped at the nature preserve to visit the swan again, because there's a small window when the babies become full grown. You have about a month. There's several weeks. And I always think, this may be the only time that I may be able to witness this great act of beauty of Gaia. So I try to spend as much time as I can out in nature. And then when I find something like that, I'll visit it many times until I no longer can. So as I was walking back after the sun was setting, I was walking through the woods. There's a trail, and it's surrounded by like a marsh with a lot of trees. This probably, as a teenager autistic kid was walking by himself through this path, and as we met ways, this kid, he started telling me that I'm just walking home and this and that, and started having a conversation, and it was very interesting. I knew right away the kid was autistic. For one, he had more energy than most humans. Autistic kids tend to have a high energy, and many of them are outspoken, and once you allow them to speak, they'll tell you a lot of things. So he started telling me, asked me if I watched like the NASCAR races or whatnot, and I told him no, I didn't, because that's really not my thing. I have nothing against it, but it's cool, people chasing each other around in cars, fast cars, but it's just not one of my things. But I'll ask him about it, what do you like? And he went on for 5 minutes telling me all these car racers' names, and this person and that person won the race, and da 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 da. And he was saying he was glad he didn't watch it last night because two of his favorite racers were crashed into each other or something. But this kid was giving me a lot of joy just because how excited he was about these NASCAR drivers, and he just knew everything about NASCAR and all the racers or whatever you call them. So as we were standing there talking, we were getting annihilated by the mosquitoes, and it just cracked me up because he kept like swinging at him, and I like kind of took my hat off and was like batting him away, and he goes, "Oh, these bugs are driving me nuts." And I said, "Yeah, they're real bloodsuckers, aren't they?" And the kid laughed, and then we shook hands and parted way. But it just made me think of just how amazing. I've always had a deep connection to like disabled people and autistic humans, autistic kids, because they just give off just the joy and their attention to detail and just beauty. They transmit beauty. It's like just like their innocence, and they're closer to source. And a gentleman came into my shop the other day, and we were talking a while about this shift. People just start telling me their life story. People tell me anything because I don't judge. And my one friend told me once I should wear a white collar and charge for my time, because I just listen and I don't judge. I let people tell me exactly what they need to tell me. And he was talking about his concern that his daughter seemed like she was getting worse, her autism. And I was explaining to him about, the shift we're going through, about the Ascension, and he was open to it. But, this was an ex-military guy, but I could tell, he had a good heart, and he had concern for his child. And I told him about the lessons from the children, and that we're transitioning to this new earth. And I try to explain in ways for the common person, especially people that, aren't experienced or have knowledge of this ascension, the shift, the event, in the most lucid way I can for people to understand. And I told him that, the autistic children, or the disabled, whatever names we give to the people that are different than what we consider normal or mundane, that they're going to be the teachers and the leaders of the new earth. They're already resonating at those higher frequencies. But to the common person, they might seem off or bizarre or strange or whatnot. But that's because they're already resonating. They already have the experience of 4D, 5D. And they're just kind of hanging out with us here until we're fully grounded into 4D, 5D. We're fluctuating right now at this time. We're grounded deep into the 3D, into the third dimensional energies, but we're fluctuating between 4D, 5D. And as we get these rainbow waves coming in, and these bliss energies and these higher frequencies coming in, we're shifting at a more accelerated rate. And as these cosmic waves, these cosmic rays manifest into the field of consciousness, into the field of Gaia, into the collective field of humanity and all life, we will keep jumping timelines. We're merging all timelines into the now. This realm is being surrounded by higher dimensional beings and fleets of ships. It's being talked a lot now amongst the different communities online, and you're even starting to see it through space agencies. They're talking about fleets and possibility of ships visiting the Earth. You're hearing it more and more. We're in the time of disclosure. The disclosure has already happened on an individual level, for individuals that have been taken up on ships. I've been to the ships astrally. I can't really say physically, with this physical body, but I have visited the higher dimensionals and our star brothers and sisters, and they have come to me physically in their ships. We have a gold dragon, Kandao Shur, in our lineage, in the Kunlun lineage. You can look up Khan, K-A-N, and he was at East City Ranch and took a photo of Kuan Yin in India. She's the Bodhisattva of compassion. Avalokitesvara is her name in India. Kuan Yin in China and Japan, or Guan Yin. You see it spelled a couple different ways. And Yin, obviously, is feminine in Chinese, the divine feminine. So these divine feminine and divine masculine energies are coming in fully now, and that's part of this Kundalini awakening, this Kundalini shift. So things are being shaken up. These energies are awakening as our chakras are opening. The chakras of the earth are also opening, and that's part of these earthquakes. They're resonances, a resonating field through the different dantians, through the 3 dantians of the earth. The earth also has the dantians, which has been translated as elixir field, an elixir field. And there's several different interpretations of dantian and elixir. The alchemists would create elixirs that they would consume to help with the awakening, the rainbow body awakening, or symbolized by, and you see it throughout all alchemy arts, transmuting lead to gold, which was a symbolic of converting physical matter back to light, or the physical 3D body to the 5D light body. And in the Tibetan arts called rainbow body, and there's many different names for rainbow bodies throughout different cultures of the world. So no matter what your mission is, what your goals are, or whatever you're doing in the here and now, whatever your purpose is, put your full heart and spirit into all that you do and all that you are, and live your passions, live from your heart. Because we are in the great awakening, and you are transmitting your love and light into this realm and to affect the collective. So this disclosure process is going to shift from the individual disclosure to the collective disclosure to all of humanity. So Kan-san in Japan, he's a Japanese teacher of our lineage, the Kunlun. You can look up Kan, K-A-N, and Kunlun, K-U-N-L-U-N. He has trained with the Andromedans, which are the blue people, the blue beings like Krishna. So he teaches them our art, the Kunlun, and they teach him their art, I don't know what the name, if they have a name for it, but I've learned some of their arts, and one of the arts is to call them down, and it's a certain practice you do to call down the higher dimensionals into this realm. And you're lifting your frequency as they're coming down to meet us halfway. Basically, that's how it works. The higher dimensionals can meet us part way. But sometimes, based on someone's mindset or the elements in the environment they're in, that can help shift people's consciousness. Terence McKenna did a lot of research and studied for years the phenomenon of UFOs and paranormal activity. And one of the conclusions he came was that there's, on an individual level, there's some kind of event that happens in the person's life that lifts them. Sometimes it's trauma. Sometimes trauma could trigger certain releases in the brain, say the DMT in the pineal gland. That's dimethyltryptamine. Dr. Rick Strassman wrote a book called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. And he believed that it's the pineal gland that releases the DMT that gives us those visions, or at death there's a big blast of the DMT to open up that doorway to the other realm, to the other side, to the higher dimensions. So there was one of the things he discovered, and he wrote a book, Terence McKenna, about it. I forget what it's called, but it was something UFOs, something or other. And when there's sometimes an individual collective experience of people seeing ships or seeing paranormal activity, maybe Bigfoot, stuff like that, that in the environment that they're in, there's something called piezo. It's like Piezo. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not a scholar on that kind of information, but you can look it up. Piezo electrical elements, and one of those is caused from a meteor hitting the earth. The material from the meteor has these crystalline structures that give off a higher frequency, so when your body is exposed to those energies, it can open those doorways. And a lot of people that have had the ayahuasca experiment, the ayahuasca, the vine of the soul, or the vine of death in South America, with the shamans, they have these near-death type experiences, or experiences with higher dimensional beings, angels, aliens, Bigfoot, the reptilians, whatever is in that person's consciousness, they experience that. And I visited in southern Ohio. There's mounds in different places in Ohio, the Native American mounds, and one of the most famous ones called the Serpent Mound. It's like a coiled serpent, and then the body comes out and it looks like it's swallowing an egg. And I visited there several years ago and had a loss of time, like an hour loss. I had an experience going into the woods there, and I found this opening in the woods with the sunlight shining through, and I took off my shirt to let as much light into my energy field as possible, and as I laid on the ground to absorb these rays, this beautiful, they're called metallic green, they're like a metallic green, they're called tiger beetles, and the tiger beetle just flew up, and they're like the most iridescent green. I've taken many photos of them over the years, and it landed right on my middle dantian, like heart center, and looked right up into my eyes, and this has happened to me many times with many creatures. I could tell you hundreds of stories where when my eyes meet with theirs, it's a mind-to-mind transmission. It's like a mind meld. We become one. And as I lay there, and then you'll get a transmission from them, from their nation, whatever it is, the deer nation, the winged nation. It's happened with owls and great egrets and great blue herons and bucks, duck, the list goes on. Mantis, the mantis beings, the mantids, many beetles, hundreds of different creatures over the years, over the last 40 years or so, or more. But as it sat on my middle dantian, I just looked down and our minds met, and it just sat there looking up at me for several minutes, 5-10 minutes, and I lost time in that moment. And I walked back up. I might have been there an hour or so. It was like 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours had passed. And I know I went through some kind of portal, especially when I walked in those woods. I felt the energies, I felt everything expanding, and then I went back to, they have a little center there, like a gift shop, and started talking to a gentleman there, and he started telling me that, he was a survivalist and could live off of tree bark and all this stuff. Like, he was telling me the Algonquins were, translated was like bark eaters or something like that, and they would make bark into like a flour and a bread. And I said, wow, like that must be hard to survive out in the wild here when it's really, we get some brutal winters and crazy weather. And he said, no, not once you know how to do it. It's easy. And then we were talking about eating grass, living off of grass. And he said something, well, I forget what he said. There's like something in a collagen or something that your body can't digest. You'd vomit it up or whatnot, and you can chew it up and get the nutrients in, but you spit it out. And I said, well, what about cows? And he said, they have like 2 stomachs, so they can digest grass or something. And I said, well, I have a cat or a dog, I see them eating grass and they swallow it and they gag. I said, why don't the dogs spit it out? He kind of looked at me with this bizarre look, and he was like, dogs don't spit. And I just started cracking up, and I'm like, yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, I guess they can't spit like humans, but I never really thought of that before. I thought I'll write a short story called Dogs Don't Spit, and the guy kind of laughed and walked off, and then this woman working there kind of looked at me strange. I was like, hey, how's it going? She's like, that was pretty interesting. I said, what's that? And she said, that guy never talks to anybody. And I said, well, yeah, that's... I am not anybody, so it makes sense. Because, people like that will talk to nothing. When you become one with the pure awareness, it's like they're talking to themselves. Because many times, even if people don't like to talk to other people, they're okay with talking to themselves. So today's transmission, I think that's all I'm going to talk about for now, so that I can get finish this up here. Because I wanted to read you a quick transmission from Michael Love and the Pleiadians, his latest transmission, planetary update. From Michael Love, Major Earth Alliance Update, 5252019. Great Ones, Operation Freedom Earth has commenced. The Earth Alliance is now disclosing that a historical cosmic event is about to take place on planet Earth. At exactly 2:22 p.m. this day, Pleiadian Delta security forces in charge of protecting the New Earth energy grid were given a green light go to initiate Operation Freedom Earth. Operation Freedom Earth is the final mission regarding humanity's ascension and is the grandest Pleiadian mission to date. This incredible operation involves the complete liberation of planet Earth. Billions of benevolent celestial forces from every corner of this galaxy have descended into Earth's solar system and are coordinating Operation Freedom Earth from the sky to the ground. This final Earth mission, Freedom Mission, will come to a grand climax on July 4th, 2019. Pleiadian Delta Force commanders have said that this operation involves a massive takedown of the ancient, artificial, and harmful Earth control grid. This old, low vibrational, energetic control grid is in the process of being completely disassembled, and a powerful, crystalline, energetic protection grid is being put in place around planet Earth now to deflect and neutralize all negative 3D energies coming from the surface. Light forces have also relayed the following urgent message to the inhabitants of planet Earth. Great Ones, Earth has reached a critical apex in its evolution and in its very survival. Things absolutely cannot and will not continue as they have, with careless care of the planet being handled by a handful of remaining negative beings. International Earth scientists and biosphere experts have issued a serious warning to all that human society is now under urgent threat from a complete loss of Earth's natural life. Please become conscious of the fact that over 1 million species of living beings on the surface of planet Earth and the entire ecosystem of Earth is facing a complete and imminent extinction. What's more concerning is the entire human population of Earth depends on the other species for its own survival. Benevolent beings have now stepped in and have decreed that a plan is in place to stop and reverse this dire situation. We are here to bring solutions and positive news for the hope of a glorious new epoch on planet Earth. The Earth Alliance is decoding a planetary message at this very hour that will broadcast to all star beings stationed on Earth. The grand event will now be fully triggered, and blinding light that the Earth has never seen is coming just over the horizon. Stand by for transmission. Godspeed. So thank you all for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your stories. Please leave a comment below this video on what you're experiencing in these shifting times, in this ascension process. Please give us a thumbs up and share this video to your teams and to your networks of other Lightworkers and Starseeds. I'd also like to thank everyone on mission for the Ecuador Healing Retreat Center, and for those that have joined us and to raise funds for this mission of a healing center and sustainable community in southern Ecuador. Thank you for joining our CBD oil team, our CBD team. We're up to 197 people on our team. And you can join us by visiting cbdpeaceoil.com. That's cbdpeaceoil.com. I also will have a link in the description below this video if you'd like to join us in this adventure of building business with a company that we've teamed up with to raise funds for research and development of building the center. And then as the team builds and we generate more income, the more of us that can put some of that income into a fund for building the center and then building homes surrounding it. The vision is having a big earth dome in the center of this community for healing and any kind of spiritual practice. I would be teaching the arts that I teach, the Taoist arts, the Qigong, the Neigong, the Kunlun. And then whatever anyone else wants to teach or practice in the spiritual arts and the healing center. And then the sustainable homes would be spiraling out from that center, the smaller domes for people to stay, either to live there or extended stay or to stay a night or two. That's all in the planning stages right now. And we'll be using some of these newer technologies as they're coming out. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming here at this time, for joining me on this mission, for joining our team of 144. Hope you have a beautiful and blessed day, beautiful beings of light. I love you all. Namaste.